She's been doing amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's so
Yeah, I'm looking
important.
forward to learning some more.
That's great. It's wonderful that she has such a strong support system too. I think that's a big part of it as well, is getting family and friends on board to support you.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I can't even take too much of that credit though. That's a lot of it is, again, you can have all the support and still you're not ready yourself. So she is ready to, and she's, as she eats healthier. I mean, this is the diabetic diet is kind of the diet we're all supposed to be on anyway. Like, we've been overdoing it with all of the other unhealthy food options that are readily available to us. And like, if it would be nice if the easy option was the healthy option all the time, but that's just not the world we tend to live in. And we will keep working towards making that more of a reality.
Oh, thank you for the intro, Tino. I should have just told you to do the intro.
I know, I was like, that was perfect.
I was saying, like,
Done.
really good intro.
That's just my experience. That's all.
No, I appreciate it. No, yeah, I'm glad you made it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting this on. This is very much needed, as you know. I'm hoping we get some people who are, like myself, I'm still struggling with eating habits, I'm trying to, and that is hard it helps because my wife is in the situation she's in for me to, okay, this is serious. Like, we have to do better.
Right. And like the whole family has to help
yes
in that.
Yeah.
It takes a village to make a change.
Definitely. A big thing, hopefully we can talk about, I don't know if that's going to happen here, but like what are some tasty food alternatives? Because that's the hard thing.
Oh, I got you covered. Don't you worry. It's coming up.
Awesome. That's like the biggest struggle. It's like, man, well, okay, if I can't eat this, can't eat that, or can't have too much of that, what can I eat that's good, like that I'm gonna enjoy?
Well, food is like my favorite thing to talk about. So it's I'm hoping I don't bore anybody with a lot of this nutrition stuff, but it gets good and meaty when you start getting into like, all right, let's talk about the good foods we can eat.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the magic is when it's like something that's not difficult to make and tastes good and is good for you. Like, that's the triple threat right there.
Absolutely. I gotta get.
I'm not a chef. I need an easy. I need some like easy meal prepping or easy meal planning. Otherwise, it's it can be tougher for some people to come around.
I got to get you on my Food for Thought Friday emails that I send out to UAA staff and families.
Please. Yes.
It's got a lot of quick cooking, healthy
recipes. They're just talking. You're not really on yet.
Awesome.
Okay, so it is 4:06. Some people may come in a little late, but let's just go ahead and get started here.
No.
If you are,
I'm not finished. I just
while we do begin, I would appreciate it. Thank you. So hello, good afternoon. My name is Alana Javier. I am the Spark Health Program Coordinator for BYA. I'm super thrilled and excited to be presenting today about diabetes, as November is Diabetes Awareness Month. Presenting today is Dr. Carson, MD, with Lifelong Medical Care, as well as Simone, our Nutrition Program Coordinator at BYA, and myself. We have some great information for you all. We will have a short Q&A at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. And Dr. Carson, take it away.
Thank you for having me. As she said, I'm an ER doc. Usually I've had to deal with diabetes because of the complications thereof. And so because of these complications and how prevalent diabetes is in our community, it is important to talk about it. So what I wanted to do today is just to talk about, first, just review normal physiology, just in a couple sentences of biology. We're not going back to all of what we did in high school or college, just a couple of quick sentences so that we could talk about the normal physiology of what insulin does and glucose, namely, We're not going to talk about ketosis or nothing like that, just a little bit. And then we'll talk about the disease states, namely, how do we diagnose diabetes? What are the signs and symptoms? And then I'll show you a couple of ugly slides of a patient I know who gave us the ability, said, go ahead, you can use these pictures. And then I'll join in with the Q&A. So that being said, thank you, you young people, for having me. And let's go to the first slide. So we know that diabetes is a major cause of early illness and death. The diseases of cardiovascular disease, which affect your kidneys, your brain, and your heart, leads to early death and premature death. About 8% of the population, 3 million folk. We have two types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is what we call juvenile diabetes, and it's usually you get it when you're a kid. And typically that type of diabetes is because your pancreas doesn't make insulin. And we'll repeat that and reiterate it. Then there's the type 2 diabetes, which is adult onset, which is usually just due to, mostly is 90% is obesity. 90% of it. And it's as you get older, you eat, if your eating habits aren't well, you decrease your exercise, you don't walk to school no more, you don't run and play basketball no more, you don't play football no more. And so whatever, you gain weight. And if you gain too much weight, then that's typically the reason why people have type 2 diabetes. Of course, brown and black folks, we tend to do it more than others. Mexicans, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, man, them dudes can get pretty big. While they're young, they just think they buffed. But when you get older, that buff turns into fat, and that fat ain't good. So the biggest risk factor, again, is just obesity for type 2 diabetes. And that's what we're going to talk about. The majority of what we're going to talk about today is type 2 diabetes. Next slide. So as per the biology review, we have a variety of systems within our body that makes up our body. We have a musculoskeletal system, which has muscles and bones. We have a neurological system, which has brains and nerves. We have a cardiovascular system, which has heart, arteries. We have an endocrine system. We even have one of the biggest organ in your body is actually your skin. Most people don't know that that's an organ, but the biggest organ in your body is your skin. Well, anyway, these systems are made up of a variety of organs. Like I said, when you look at the cardiovascular system, you have a heart, arteries, and veins. And then those organs are made up of tissues, and those tissues are made up of cells. So next slide. Oh, wait. So all the cells, regardless of which system it is, they need some type of energy source. And just like a car, most cars run on gas, but I don't know if you all know this, but a car can actually run on chicken oil, on oil that you get from like fried chicken, because it has calories in it. So that being said, the car will not run as well as it does with gas, but it can. To the same scenario, a similar scenario, we have cells that make up, like I said, tissues, which make up organs, which make up systems. So back down to the cellular level, cells need energy, and those energy sources are glucose, which we use most often, lipids, when we get in the starvation state, and proteins. So just keep those in mind, glucose, lipids, and proteins. These are the energy sources we use for various cells. Next slide. I just wanted to show you again an example of that biggest organ. That girl was so fine. I was like, Jesus, let's take a picture of her skin. So anyway, we had to show her off a little bit. All right, next. So this is my picture of the normal physiology at the baseline of what a cell is. It has a cell wall, and then insulin is my key. If you see, I'm pointing my insulin marker straight down to my key. And so insulin, in fact, allows glucose and promotes glucose to be absorbed inside the cell from the extracellular source, namely in your veins and arteries, the fluids that cells live within. If glucose is outside of them, if you have insulin, then insulin will help promote putting the glucose inside of the cell. So if you don't have insulin, then the glucose cannot get inside of the cell. Or if for some reason that insulin key is not working, which is what we call insulin resistance. And typically the people who get insulin resistance is due to obesity, meaning the fat. So if you have too much fat, then your insulin does not work as well, and you get what we call insulin resistance. So is everybody with me with this real generic model that insulin is basically a protein, a molecule that works on allowing and promoting glucose to become intracellular so that your cells can use it for energy? We good with that? Next slide. Next, yeah. So again, type 1 diabetes is because you don't have enough insulin. Insulin comes from the beta cells in your pancreas. Your pancreas is an organ, it's an endocrine and an exocrine organ, but namely, it's the organ from the beta cells that create insulin. We believe that type 1 diabetes, juvenile onset, is due to some kid getting a cold, a virus, I don't know, corona maybe, but some type of cold whereby their beta cells don't produce enough insulin. So type 1 diabetes is because the beta cells don't produce enough insulin. And if you don't have the insulin, then you can't get the glucose inside of your cell. And now your glucose raises extracellular. And we'll talk about those numbers too. Type 2 diabetes, your insulin don't work. This is this term talking about insulin resistance. And we notice that most people with type 2 diabetes, the reason they have type 2 diabetes is obesity. Now, we don't know at the molecular level why the fat gets in the way of the insulin such that it doesn't allow glucose to go in, but we do know the generic term is insulin resistance. I always just said the fat get inside the keyhole and the insulin can't get in there to open the door. That's what I think of it as, because I'm sort of just make things very simple. So when you start talking about screening for diabetes and how, what are some of the numbers that we look at? So I'm an ER doc, so I never get people in there that are fasting. But anytime anybody has a glucose greater than 200, I don't care if you was out eating peach cobbler, your grandmama's peach cobbler, where they put a half a pound of sugar, butter, all that good sweet stuff to make a peach cobbler taste right. I don't care if you ate 2 pies. People do not have diabetes, their sugar will still not be over 200. So when people tell me, oh man, I just had a Coke and I went over the Nations, had some fries, blah, 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 say, well, cuz your sugar still should not be over 200. If it's over 200, that's diabetes. I don't give a shit what you ate. That's over 200, you got diabetes. So now fasting sugars, if you fast overnight, your sugar shouldn't be greater than like 125, 130, okay? So if you had a fasting sugar where your doctor said, hey, I don't want you to eat tonight, I don't want you to eat nothing, right? And then I'm gonna come in and get some of your blood and we're gonna send it to the lab. If it's greater than 125, then you got diabetes. Now there's this other thing called hemoglobin A1C. So your hemoglobin molecule, the molecule that carries oxygen that makes up the red blood, it's inside the red blood cells. That molecule has some markers on it, one of which is A1C. Glucose will attach to your A1C marker on the hemoglobin molecule. Again, the hemoglobin molecule is what makes red blood cells red, okay? So if we look at people who have diabetes, that hemoglobin, when it's free, it will jump on the hemoglobin A1 marker and it becomes elevated. So we can measure that. If it's greater than 6.5, and I just tell people to make it simple. If you're greater than 7, you need to come down. You got a problem. Because you start saying points, people need, if you're greater than 7, you definitely have diabetes. The good thing about hemoglobin A1C is that it measures an average of your sugar levels for like 3 months. So like people like me who try to cheat and go work out for a week and don't eat none of mama's sweet potato pie, and then for a week, and then my regular sugar is normal, my hemoglobin A1C will tell the truth. Okay, so if you was like, what is this hemoglobin A1C? It gives an average of your sugars over like 3 months. So less than Less than 7, 6.5, you don't have diabetes. Greater than 7 or 6.5, you have diabetes. So again, these are the numbers we look at when we actually objectively measure what diabetes is. Next slide. So signs and symptoms. First thing, when signs and symptoms, because I have diabetes, that I notice is that you pee. I don't mean like pee like go to the bathroom. I mean pee like a racehorse, and you got to pee R-A-T now. People pee all day, all night, and they be like, man, no, I got to get to the bathroom right now. I remember we were in Hawaii, and we was on one of them tour buses, and I told the dude, nah, man, if you don't pull over, I'm going to pee on your bus. So he understood. I said, damn, and I'm a doctor, and I was like, damn, I got diabetes. And that's when I noticed. So the other things is that you get tired, you be fatigued, blurred vision. Your vision will be bad. And this is usually it's because the sugar is remember that big yolky thing when we did the cow dissection in high school, and the aqueous humor, that big old globby looking thing in the front of your eye, it gets a lot of sugar in there, and those crystals make it hard for light to reflect through your cornea. So that's one of the reasons. Now, you say weight loss. Why would you get weight loss? Well, remember, we said that the body uses glucose, lipids, and proteins. But now, because you're so fat, and the fat is inside of the hole where the insulin molecule goes, and you can no longer use glucose, now your body says, well, I got to use something. So what does it use? It uses fat. And that's why one of the first things the patient has come in with, they said, man, I'm peeing a lot, I got blurred vision, and I'm losing weight. And the reason why they're losing weight is because now their body is using fat as opposed to the sugar, because they're diabetic and they can't use they have insulin resistance. So now they can't use the glucose. So what do they metabolize? They metabolize fat. And that's your body's way of saying, hey, dude, you have diabetes. If you lose this weight, we'll get back to normal. But what do? We go back to nations and eat another double cheeseburger. So that's why you don't get rid of the diabetes. Then you typically are at risk for infections. So a lot of guys and a lot of girls will come in and I find they say, doc, I'm itching down there. And I was like, man, well, let's check you out. And so I see the yeast, and it looked just like yeast, like any other yeast, is white mold. And the first thing I'll ask is, do you have diabetes? And what happens is, as you urinate all that urine, which has sugar, because your body, in an attempt to get rid of the glucose, it will try to pee it out. So if I took your urine and looked at your urine, when your sugar gets at about 200, which we said was diabetes, regardless if grandma just cooked you a pie, you had ribs, all that stuff, at 200, you'll start peeing out sugar. So that's called glycosuria. So now you're peeing out the sugar. Your body's trying to get rid of it. Your body's trying to help you. It's trying to get rid of the sugar, and it's going to try to make you lose the fat, because now you got to use the fat as opposed to glucose for your metabolism. And of course, the guys don't like to talk about it, but they'll come in and say, hey, man, I ain't working down there, man. I'm trying to holler at this girl, and my wood ain't working, man. And I say, cuz, do you have diabetes? Man, I don't know. Check me out. And I check them out, and they be 240, 250 with their sugars. And that's one of the, and if you can't get a man in for no other reason, you tell him, cuz, you lose this weight, you get rid of this diabetes, your wood will work right. You'll be able to promise your girl things. Okay. So when I find people with this, I can start them on a medicine, but the big thing is to follow with a PC and to make sure that they have some type of understanding that this is due to the obesity. 90% of the type 2 diabetes is due to obesity. If you lose the weight, you'll get rid of the disease. I know people like to hand out pills, metformin and this and sulfonylureas and all that other crap. But if you lose the weight, you'll get rid of the type 2 diabetes. Okay. And we all know that weight loss is 90% what you eat. It ain't got nothing to do with going to the gym and all that other stuff. Weight loss is about what you eat. I'm gonna repeat that. Weight loss is about what you eat. Okay. Now, we already said that diabetes puts you at risk for all the cerebral vascular disease. It puts you at coronary artery disease. It puts you at peripheral vascular disease, PAD. That's why diabetic people have diabetes have a lot of foot disease. If you have diabetes in the renal arteries, you'll have renal disease. That's why there was a big issue with that dialysis thing. That you seen the dialysis vote on the last vote we had. Retinopathy, all the small arteries, wherever they are in your brain, in your eyes, whether you're talking about your coronary arteries, your renal arteries, the peripheral vascular disease that you get on your feet, all those arteries are now clogged up with all this glucose. And if you add in cigarettes, you're going to get your toes cut off. Simple as that. Because cigarettes have that nicotine that makes the blood vessels, in particular at the small capillaries, they make them shrink. So if those blood vessels shrink and contract, and you have interarterial cholesterol as well as glucose, then you got a big problem. You got a big problem. And that's when all the above mentioned disease processes started. Okay, next slide. This is a patient's foot who had, diabetes, and this is the infection you can get in diabetes. I just put it up there because it's so graphic so that people can see this is no bullshit. You got to really take care of your feet and your sugar, or this can happen. This happens to be my foot, my right foot, and I was blessed by God to keep I still got a right foot. But like most men, I was stupid and thought that I was going to just walk to the gym and blah, 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 blah. And this is the type of stuff that can happen to your foot, let alone your organs, when your diabetes is out of control. And this is my foot, I'm here to tell you. Fortunately, God blessed me. I still got my foot and my toes. Next slide. So I'm not going to steal your thunder, Simone, because I know you're going to talk about some of the nutrition. So I'm not going to, but I just had to just make people understand. So I go for my walk, right? And I do me a walk, walk around the neighborhood. And you say 2.5 miles in an hour. That's just a slow walk from an OG, right? Now that's calories per minute, right? And you can't see the other side of the slide. That's calories per minute. So if you multiply that by 60, then you come out to 100 and what is that? About 125 or something like that. So 1 hour of walking at a slow pace is not worth even that one Big Mac you ate. That's my point I'm trying to bring. So that's why I tell people you can exercise. That stuff sounds nice and it's great. And you get to go out and walk with your significant other and walk the dog and say hi to the neighbors and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, 90% of weight loss is what you put in your mouth. Okay. And weight loss, if you have diabetes, is the number one. Diabetes type 2. Remember, we're talking about type 2 is the number one thing you can do. I mean, of course, you're going to take the medicine, metformin, blah, 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 all these different medicines to control it. But if you want to get rid of it, get rid of the diabetes, then get rid of the diabetes, you have to lose the weight. I'm not going to steal the thunder because I know that's Simone's part. I'm going to let that go. And I think my last slide is next. Yeah, that's just me with a kid. They took a picture of me. The kid made me look halfway decent, but that's over at Lifelong. So would you like Elena to let everybody give their talk and then come back and do the Q&A, or do you want to do the Q&A for me right now? What is your?
Are you able to hang around? If not,
I got a couple patients downstairs. If you don't tell
so
them.
If anyone has any questions for Dr. Carson right now, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat.
I'll try to go quick, Dr. Carson, too, to make sure that, just in case you have to run and anybody has questions after the nutrition.
No, man, no. What you're talking about is the most important thing. What people eat. I'm serious, man. People, they don't understand this. You are what you eat.
It's
You
true.
are what you eat. You are what you eat. If you eat all that BS, that's what you're gonna be. You know, all them pies and all that shit, man. You got it now. That stuff don't work. It don't work. You gotta eat what you gonna talk about. Go ahead, please.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Please holler.
Hi,
Hey.
Mr. Mason.
Hey, how's everybody? Hey, Desmond, this is Brandon.
Oh, what's going on?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. See, me and Brandon went to high school, to elementary school together, and he was like my role model. Him and his sister, my daddy coached him in basketball. The world is small.
That's right. That's right. But look, I appreciate the way you just put it out there. You know, you didn't sugarcoat nothing. You just gave it to us
Yeah,
straight.
because the sugar is what's gonna mess it up.
Yeah. And when you showed me that foot, I wasn't ready for that foot.
I
but
know, cuz I know. And
I'm like-
Elena said, she said, don't put that foot out there. You might scare somebody. I didn't
Well,
have, yeah.
Well,
Because I'm saying, man, this stuff is serious.
you're right. Right.
Sinbad just had a stroke.
Oh, did he?
Sinbad just had a stroke, cuz.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Right,
Well-
man. That's why, man, it's black men, you know, all this thing, oh, I'm just buff. Nah, hell no. Hell no. You know you're supposed to be at 180 and you 220 trying to do 3 sit-ups. That ain't gonna get it.
Well,
That
look,
ain't
I
gonna
just
get
I
it.
just wanted to say I appreciate the way you gave it to us. And it's good seeing you.
One love, baby.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
One
indeed.
love.
Take care, brother.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Carson, I would also like to second what Brandon just said. I appreciate you just putting it out there and not, you know, like you were very honest. You weren't trying to be tiptoe around anything. You were just like, look, this is what it really is. If you want to fix the problem, you got to be able to, it's about the diet and it's
Push
about
away.
what you're putting in your body.
Not push-ups, push-aways.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
You're welcome. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? We also have a Q&A at the end. Anything for Dr. Desmond Carson, in case he does have to step away.
And real quick, Dr. Carson, I would like you to, I don't want to put no words in your mouth. You're not saying don't exercise. You're saying make sure you're eating good food, putting good fuel in your body. And exercise helps, but it's not going to solve it on its own.
Oh no, the exercise. I do exercise, man. I ride my bike from Richmond Marina down near to Berkeley, you know, and I ain't lost a dime. The issue is, man, I mean, is what you put in your mouth, especially as you get older. When we were kids, we used to walk to school every day, to school, back, play basketball, after basketball, you know, play this, play that, all that stuff. So that's different. I mean, now we go around the corner, man, we get in the car. You know, we get in the car. So if you were like third world countries where people walk to work, that's different. You know, you walk to work 3 miles to and come, and that's different. But I mean, you know, you can't go out and eat Nation's ham. I just showed you the numbers, and then you can't catch up. You won't catch up. 90% of it is what you put in your mouth.
Thank you. That's definitely something that young folks and even older men will say, like, I'm just going to work out extra hard. And, you know, that way, if I work out harder, it'll balance out. And it's just like, because the diet part is tougher than going to the gym for a lot of people.
Very tough. It's very tough.
I just want to say thank you for coming on and taking the time out. Diabetes runs high on my father's side, and I'm glad you said for your very authentic talk, because it was very authentic. And I'm like, Brandon, I was not prepared for your foot. I was like, oh God, what is that?
Right, I'm sorry, but I did want to give a little shot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, you just being open and honest about it. And so I like your talk. It was just very authentic, and I appreciate you sharing the information. I always try to tell my sisters, because they love to cook. They like to do the soul food because it's in our nature. But it's nice to hear again that it is about how we eat. Exercise is not really going to help, but it's what we put in. Like it says, our temple. So thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
And let me say back to the soul food. Don't blame soul food, because ain't nothing wrong with red beans. Ain't nothing wrong with collard greens. Ain't nothing wrong with mustard greens.
No, it's not.
Then you start having the rice, and then the sweet potato pie, and then somebody want to wash it down with a Coke. That's what that's the problem. And
That's
fish
the
don't,
problem.
chicken don't have to be fried.
That's true. We can eat it baked.
Right, we can. I mean, I like it fried, don't get me wrong, but it don't have to be.
No, trust me, I like it fried too. But I tried to tell my husband it's a treat to have it fried. So no, I do agree. So yes, thank you.
Dr. Carson, we do have a question. Are we allowed to share the slides to our attendees?
Please.
Okay, great.
Take that foot out so don't nobody get
No, I'm gonna leave it in.
You should leave it in for sure.
You got to leave it in.
All right.
Okay. So we will pass on the stop sharing. We will pass it on to Simone. So whenever you're ready.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simone. I'm a nutrition counselor and a health coach. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all about an extremely important health topic that I care greatly about, diabetes and prediabetes. I'm going to go over with you all that nutrition can play in the prevention treatment. And I just want to start by saying I do believe that food is medicine, and the food we put into our bodies is a vital part of our physical and emotional health. We are in the midst of a global health pandemic, and the standard American diet consists of over 60% of highly processed foods. We need to create vital changes that greatly impact the health of our communities, our families, our children, and our future generations. And with that being said, I'm going to share my presentation with you. We go. Okay. All right. So Dr. Carson already went over insulin, so I'll just try to touch on this a little bit and how it ties into food. So insulin is a hormone that moves glucose from your blood into your cells for energy and storage. People with diabetes have high levels of glucose in their blood. Either they don't have enough insulin to move it through, or their cells don't respond to insulin as well as it should. Without enough insulin, glucose can't move into the cells and the blood glucose levels stay high. Insulin resistance. The more insulin resistant you are, the more likely you are to turn excess carbohydrates into fat. An abundance of simple sugars in the diet goads the body into releasing more and more insulin. Eventually, the cellular locks get worn down and overused. Like a key that's lost its teeth, insulin loses its ability to easily open the cellular door. The cells become numb to the effects of insulin. As a result, the body pumps out more and more of the hormone to keep the blood sugar levels in check. Eventually, this cycle leads to a dangerous condition called insulin resistance. Liver and glucose, a love story. The liver both stores and manufactures glucose depending upon the body's need. While you are sleeping and between meals, the body has to make its own sugar. While this is happening, the liver is managing and dumping blood sugar. The process sets metabolism into a fasting state. Eating within an hour of waking up in the morning will help to break that blood sugar fast that is happening while you sleep. Even if you're not a breakfast person, try to eat a light snack within the first hour of rise to help break that fasting state. Stressing the organ by not eating can drive an imbalance of sugar levels. Having a light snack or breakfast within that first hour will help to stop the liver from dumping that sugar and jumpstart the optimization of the metabolism. Carbohydrates, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So carbohydrates are macronutrients that include fibers, sugars, and starches. They are found in vegetables, fruit, grains, and dairy. Carbs are placed into groups based upon how quickly they are digested and absorbed. If you notice yourself feeling hungry shortly after you're eating, try to take inventory of the foods that you are consuming that are causing hunger signals an hour or two before your next meal. This is very important. Have you ever eaten a bowl of cereal or toast and found yourself hungry an hour or two later? This is the feeling that you get from consuming simple carbs. Simple carbohydrates, or as I like to call them, sugar. When you eat simple carbohydrates, whether as a sugar or as a starch, it goes almost instantaneously from the gut into the bloodstream. Within seconds, the blood sugar levels start to spike. To counter the increase in sugar, the body triggers the pancreas to release insulin. These forms of carbs provide the body with a short-lasting source of energy. The spike in energy felt when consuming simple carbohydrates is called a sugar rush. These forms of carbs often result in overeating for two reasons. They don't keep you feeling full for a very long time. And these carbs are found in processed foods, sweet foods, and drinks such as candy, chips, high fructose corn syrup, soda, and other sugar-sweetened beverages. These forms of simple carbs provide little to no vitamins or minerals, and they're highly addictive. Complex carbs provide more nutrients than simple carbs because they're higher in fiber. They digest more slowly, making them more filling, which means they're a good option for weight control. Fiber is an example of a complex carbohydrate. Fiber is especially important because it promotes bowel regularity and helps to control cholesterol. The types of complex carbs I recommend are fruit, real fruit, not the processed kinds like fruit bars and juices, vegetables, nuts, and beans. In moderation, sweet potatoes are wonderful, lentils, quinoa, brown rice, and wild rice. Try to stay away from the white rice. Why did you say no to heavily processed flour? White and all-purpose flours are extremely heavily processed. This type of flour is pro-inflammatory and can react with the gut and the opioid receptor functions, which can interfere with psychological activities, including the emotional response, seizures, immune function, obesity, respiratory, and cardiovascular health. It is also void of nutrient density. This is why it is now synthetically enriched. Often flour is bleached to protect the oxidation and further preserve it. Bleaching can be a major stressor to the gut and microbiome response. I know what you're thinking, no way, I'm not giving up flour. Don't worry, because there are some alternatives that I love to talk about. Almond flour is one of my favorite flours to use for making blueberry pancakes or muffins or really anything as a substitute. It's a great source of magnesium, omegas, protein, and vitamin E, so yay for antioxidants. Coconut flour is a great source of protein. It's a healthy fat, fiber, iron, and provides potassium. Buckwheat flour is actually unrelated to wheat and has a very earthy flavor to it. It's a good source of fiber, protein, manganese, magnesium, copper, iron, and phosphorus. Supplement support. So eating highly processed foods, junk food, and sugar-sweetened beverages can make you highly nutritionally deficient. This can include deficiencies such as zinc, magnesium, omegas, B vitamins, and iron. There's a lot of supplements that can help with insulin response and treatment of diabetes and prediabetes. However, diet is essential. You cannot supplement your way out of a bad diet. Supplementation intervention should be used in synergy with healthy diet that meets the bioindividual needs of each person. Some supplements to look at and to talk about with your doctor. When sourcing supplements, look for medical grade, third-party assessed and tested for potency and purity and made in an FDA regulated facility. This is very important. You don't want to be taking synthetic vitamins. So magnesium glycinate, this is a mineral. Most people are actually deficient in magnesium. There are many factors that can lead to deficiency in magnesium. One factor is a result of soil erosion. Magnesium can be found in leafy vegetables, nuts, and seeds. However, research shows that because of soil erosion, foods that would provide magnesium now lack high levels of this mineral. Magnesium glycinate is focused on supporting nerves, cellular function, muscles, helps with reducing inflammation, and acts as a mediator for insulin action. Research shows that magnesium depletion has been found in 75% of patients with poorly controlled type 2 diabetes. Vitamin D, this is a fat-soluble vitamin. It helps with the immune system and the anti-inflammatory influences on the organs to help with the blood sugar response. Fish oil, one of my favorites, a potent EPA DHA fish oil. Look for one that has wild fish in it as its source. That's very important. A good fish oil will help reduce inflammation and help those cell walls to be more responsive to the action of insulin. Kind of some non-typical ones, alpha lipouric acid. This is a potent antioxidant that helps with neuropathy and diabetes. It plays a role in reducing how sugar influences the nerves and helps repair those nerves. It also helps let the glucose into those cells. That's going to help the overall blood sugar values. Chromium is another one. This is also a mineral. That tend to be deficient in those that consume excessive carbohydrates. It helps make insulin's action more functional in the body. Okay, foods to avoid. Our taste buds have been hijacked by the processed food industry. I highly believe that. Ultra processed foods such as breakfast cereal, chips, packaged frozen meals, sliced bread, sugar sweetened beverages have high levels of refined sugar and wheat in it. In most processed foods, there's a higher percentage of chemicals and synthetic ingredients than there are bioavailable vitamins and other nutritional values. Refined sugars cause chronic disease, cognitive decline, and depression. It is also harmful to the immune system and can suppress it. Research shows that the consumption of processed foods leads to 11 million deaths per year. What you might not know about oatmeal. We've all been told that oatmeal is healthy, right? Well, unfortunately, and especially if you have diabetes and prediabetes, it's not. Most people eat oatmeal off of a fasting state for breakfast. Oatmeal shoots up that blood sugar and makes it hard for it to come back down to baseline. Typically, oatmeal has a lot of pesticides in it, and pesticides are hormone disruptors, and diabetes is a hormone disease. Sugar, sugar everywhere. The average American consumes 22 tablespoons of sugar a day, and the average kid in America consumes 34 teaspoons of sugar a day. Starch and sugar are driving the overwhelming numbers of diabetes and prediabetes. Depending on your genetics, even if you are a normal weight, you can still be vulnerable to diabetes and prediabetes. Some people are more carbohydrate intolerant than others. It's important to identify the amounts of starch and sugar in your diet. The main starch being referred to here is flour. The consumption of these foods are what's driving the pandemic of overfat, which is driving blood sugar issues. Try and determine where a lot of your simple carbohydrates containing starch and sugar in your diet is coming from. To do this, look at the sources of where you are consuming these foods and drinks. Are you eating a lot of cereal, packaged foods, processed foods, potatoes, rice, or consuming a lot of products containing sugar, such as juices, soda, and sports drinks? Try and look at your daily consumption of these and determine what can be replaced. This is a big one, ways to reduce sugar cravings. Sugar is highly, highly, highly addictive. So it may seem impossible to just completely eliminate it, but it actually isn't. Much like coffee, you can start to reduce sugar cravings and come completely off of sugar in less than a week. But hydration is key, and so are these foods that I'm going to go over with you. So healthy fats. Consuming healthy fats such as avocado, nuts, seeds, extra virgin olive oil help to decrease sugar cravings. Fat doesn't make you fat, sugar does. Healthy fat actually keeps you full, balances your blood sugar, and is necessary for fueling your cells. Try to consume healthy fats at every meal and snack. Fiber helps to bring down those sugar levels. Fiber from plant-rich foods are very important to incorporate into the diet. Eating protein, especially at breakfast, is key to balancing blood sugar and insulin and cutting those sugar cravings. Start the day with pasture-raised eggs or a smoothie high in protein, fiber, and rich in antioxidants. Try to consume protein through nuts, seeds, eggs, fish, wild fish, chicken, or grass-fed meats at every meal. For reference, a serving size is about 4 to 6 ounces, so about the size of your palm. Non-starchy veggies as well, eating lots of non-starchy veggies such as greens and broccoli, cauliflower, kale, collards, asparagus, green beans, mushrooms, onions, zucchini, tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, and artichokes. This is making me so hungry. Those are very heavily nutrient dense foods to be eating and absolutely help cut those sugar cravings. Hydration. Water is life. It delivers nutrients to our cells. It keeps our joints lubricated. It helps prevent infections. It keeps our organs functioning and properly improves our sleep quality, cognition, and mood. So snack ideas to help reduce sugar cravings. Emergency snack pack. I'm always on the go Monday through Friday, so you can be guaranteed to always find homemade snack packs and a bottle of water in my bag at all times. My snack pack includes a Ziploc bag with almonds and sunflower seeds in it to provide that protein and that fat, and then a healthy protein and through like a healthy protein and fat stick, such as like, you know, these epic bars that have, they're like beef sticks or wild fish sticks. And the beef is pasture raised. One of those things, if I'm on the run and I don't have time to stop and eat lunch, will provide me with enough protein and fat along with those almonds and seeds to be able to sustain myself for at least 4 hours. So quick snacks at home or on the go. I love apple slices and nut butter. I cut up apples and into slices and squeeze some lemon juice on them to prevent the apples from turning brown. For on the go, I put the apple slices into a bag and I do a huge spoonful or 2, maybe 3 of nut butter into parsnip paper, fold it up and place that into the bag as well, and just use it as a dipper for the apples. Essential fats and anti-inflammatory foods. So healthy fat, omega-3 fats. This helps with the insulin response and helps with reducing inflammation. You can find good amounts of omegas in wild fish, pasture-raised egg yolks. Seeds. Flax seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds. Oh, I wanted to say real quick, I keep mentioning pasture-raised eggs because they carry more nutrients in them. They're higher in vitamin D because the chickens, are, grazing on the grass all day, absorbing that sunshine, getting more nutrients into those chickens, and then therefore we're getting more nutrients when we consume their meat and their eggs. So pasture raised, definitely for the win. Herbs and spices, ginger, garlic, onion, parsley, and dill. Very important to try to incorporate for breakfast and for dinner. My favorite and an uncommon one I like to recommend is cinnamon. Cinnamon plays a big role in insulin resistance and the blood sugar response. Cinnamon helps with the mechanisms of chromium, talking to those cell doors and letting that blood sugar in. Even if the insulin response is compromised, the mechanical influence of that cinnamon helps to influence that blood sugar response. You can use cinnamon in all sorts of things, in your smoothies, in your coffee, in your teas. Just trying to use it every single day will make a big difference. And it does also help break that, that sugar addiction as well. Fiber. Foods high in fiber can help blunt that glycemic spike by not allowing such a high glycemic spike. Sorry. Some of my favorite foods that are high in fiber and are extremely nutrient dense and loaded with essential vitamins include broccoli again, avocado, apples, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, mangoes, pineapples, artichokes, chickpeas, and sweet potatoes. That all sounds so good. Okay, a balanced approach to eating carbohydrates is by pairing carbs with protein and healthy fats to help lower blood sugar spikes and help maintain satiety. Protein-rich foods break down the slowest and burn the most calories. And healthy fats blunt that spiking of blood sugar. Pairing a carb with a healthy fat is going to cause a lower and more sustained blood sugar response. So that carb will not cause that rapid insulin dumping into the body. So some, kind of quickish ideas of how to pair carbohydrates with fibers and fats. For some breakfast and snack ideas, an apple with nut butter, such as peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, a banana with nut butter, aged cheddar cheese with almond slices, apples, mangoes or pineapples, and blueberries, celery stuffed with some nut butter and a side of almonds and fruit, a hard-boiled pasture-raised egg with a side of nuts and seeds such as cashews and sunflower seeds, hummus, blueberries, unsweetened probiotic yogurt. I love this tip for kids when kids are fussy eaters. Kids love dipping things. So for kids to get them to eat, eggs and, other like great sources of protein and vitamins, I like to recommend hummus as a dipper on the side, as well as like yogurt with some dill seasoning into it. Unsweetened yogurt, of course. Homemade almond flour blueberry pancakes topped with grass-fed pasture-raised butter and a probiotic yogurt on top. You can also add some cinnamon into that batter as well for some extra nutrients. Fiber and antioxidant-rich smoothies at least 3 times a week. I like to add wild blueberries, mangoes, probiotic yogurt, unsweetened almond milk, and a cup of water and a scoop of nut butter into those smoothies. That will actually sustain you for several hours as well. To go the extra step, add in a fistful of spinach. It might turn your smoothie brown, but it's okay. It's all about the vitamins, right? Pasture-raised scrambled eggs with onions, garlic, mushrooms, spinach, and aged cheddar cheese, and top that off with olive oil. Kind of a good tip for the kitchen. Olive oil is best used in its raw form, so actually not heating it. You can use coconut oil, you can use a pasture-raised butter, you can use avocado oil for cooking in. Those will all provide you with healthy fats. Definitely staying away from those vegetable oils, whatever you do. Olive oil is amazing for you and is a great healthy fat, and just like drizzling it on top of food after you cook it is a wonderful way to consume it. Some tips for lunch and dinners: brown or black wild rice topped with black beans, avocado, aged cheddar cheese, and again that drizzle of olive oil. Some wild salmon or wild prawns or cod on top of quinoa and olive oil drizzled on top with a side of green leafy veggies such as collard greens or chard. A baked potato or a sweet potato with some of that grass-fed butter inside and paired with grilled chicken, steak, or wild fish, and a side of black beans and mushrooms. Okay, so the stress response in sleep and how it affects diabetes. The dawn effect is an abnormal early morning increase in blood sugar. This happens usually between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. in people with diabetes. The liver dumps sugar from physical and emotional stress. When you're under physical stress, your blood sugar can increase. This is one of the reasons that you have high blood sugar even when you're not eating sugar. Stress drives insulin resistance. Blood sugar can be elevated in the morning even by someone that does not have diabetes or prediabetes. This happens not because their blood sugar is an issue, but because they are stressed. Stress will cause blood sugar to rise and cortisol to go up, which makes you hungry and causes belly fat storage that leads to type 2 diabetes. When you're experiencing stress, your body reacts in that fight or flight response. During this response, those hormone levels elevate, and the body releases adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream. The body directly directs that blood into the muscles and into the limbs, allowing for that fight or flight to take place. If you have diabetes, your body may not be able to process that glucose release during stress. If you can't convert that glucose into energy, it builds up in the bloodstream and causes blood glucose levels to rise. So tips about what you can do about this: breathing exercises. I love to recommend this. Studies show that taking deep breaths activates that vagus nerve. That shifts your metabolism from fat storage to fat burning and quickly moves you out of that stress state. If you're having a stress response or a sugar craving, take 5 deep, slow breaths to the count of 5, hold to the count of 5, and repeat that 5 times. Research shows that what we eat has the potential to impact mood and improve cognitive function. Mood and cognitive ability relies on the balance of those neurotransmitters. The right types of healthy food help provide us with a healthy release and balance of neurotransmitters. Examples of this are foods that are, again, high in protein for the amino acids. Vitamin C and Bs and iron help to balance neurotransmitter levels. Aiming to achieve this balance will help with anxiety, stress, depression, and sleep regulation. Sleep is important, so try to set a goal for getting at least 8 hours of sleep a night, if possible. Research shows a direct link between sleep disturbances and diabetes, and sleep deprivation is a significant risk factor for diabetes. Insufficient sleep affects hormones and the ability to regulate glucose. Insomnia, restless leg syndrome, and sleep apnea are all examples of sleep disorders connected to diabetes. Research also shows that when you have imbalanced deep sleep, you tend to have imbalanced cortisol levels. Lack of sleep also drives sugar craving by affecting appetite hormones. If you don't sleep, you crave more energy. So you go towards those quickly absorbed sugars that can provide the body with that short-lasting source of energy and often result in overeating. Oftentimes, you'll find yourself overeating because you are tired or stressed and crave more energy. So summing it up, try and work on managing stress and getting proper sleep. Getting into that restful sleep mode can be difficult at night. A stressful mind tends to race with thoughts and concerns and our to-do lists. Practicing mindfulness, breathing exercises such as the 4-7-8 breath developed by Dr. Weil can help bring that body into a state of deep relaxation by allowing the body to replenish its oxygen and clear its mind. The 4-7-8 breath and other forms of breath work and meditation forces the mind and body to focus on regulating the breath instead of focusing on the stressor. This technique is not only beneficial for helping to fall asleep, but also for helping to soothe anxiety and aid in promoting calm and relaxation. Dr. Weil describes the 4-7-8 breath as a natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. Relaxation practices help bring the body back into balance and regulate that fight or flight response that's felt when we're stressed. Clinical research shows that healthy, balanced nutrition, decreasing stress, proper sleep, vitamins, and staying hydrated can prevent, manage, and treat diabetes and prediabetes. Ultimately, we may not be able to control our genes, but we do control what and how we eat. The most powerful tool you have to transform your health is your fork. Use it and you will thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. I do see we have a few questions for her. We will hold those to the end. I promise we will get to them. Thank you all for being here again. So I'm not sure if everyone was on when we first started and we did our intro. I'm just going to reintroduce myself. My name is Alana Javier. I'm the Spark Health Program Coordinator, and my background is in kinesiology, exercise, nutrition, and health education. So I will be discussing the exercise that goes into managing and prevention of diabetes. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so exercise in diabetes. So what is physical activity? Physical activity is any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that require energy expenditure. So physical activity, yes, there is a difference between physical activity and exercise. So physical activity is more of chores, household chores, such as doing dishes, mopping, sweeping, along as recreational activity, which could be fishing, bowling, ice skating, even canoeing. So what is exercise? Exercise is a planned, structured, repetitive, and aims to improve or maintain one or more component of physical fitness. So as one of the pictures is showing, he's working out at home. We could all relate to that right now. So he probably doesn't have any weight, but he's exercising. He's holding a squat in a chair position. That's exercise. He's probably doing it, I would like to think he's doing it maybe 2 to 3 times a week, or running is exercise. Lifting weights is exercise, and you're on a planned schedule. So there is also a classification of exercise. We are all familiar with aerobic. Aerobic exercise produces energy using a continuous supply of oxygen to sustain the current level of activity without needing another source of energy. So aerobic, you can think of it as with oxygen. So you need all that oxygen. Aerobic moves it needs large muscle groups and causes you to breathe more deeply, and your heart will work harder to pump the blood throughout your body. So aerobic exercise is any type of cardiovascular conditioning we may all call as cardio. So activities would be brisk walking, swimming, running, and cycling. Another classification for exercise, oops, too fast there, is anaerobic. I'm not sure if all of you have actually heard of anaerobic classification of exercise, but you also may know it as strength training, weight training. So anaerobic exercise is a higher intensity, higher power version of exercise, and is an activity that breaks down glucose for energy without using oxygen. So aerobic is with oxygen, anaerobic is without oxygen. The exercises and movements that require short bursts of intense energy are weightlifting, sprinting, or you probably also heard of HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. So we'll get a little bit more into this. I do also want to give some information on the RPE scale, which is a rate of perceived exertion. So during these times, we've probably, like I'm guilty, I even looked up exercise regimens to kind of just get me motivated. You know, I'm drawing a blank of what am I gonna do next? You know, COVID hit hard and we're in a routine. Now I'm out of a routine. I need some inspiration. We all went online. We're all guilty. So RPE scale, you probably see in these exercise regimens, moderate activity, vigorous, moderate to vigorous. Well, what does that mean? So RPE, rate of perceived exertion, is a scale of how you're feeling during your workout. So 1 through 10. So for example, okay, the exercise says, let's do moderate activity. You're with a partner. And so my moderate is what I think is moderate may not be moderate for my partner. So moderate to me is I can still hold a short conversation. We've all been probably running or walking and we're talking to someone, but I'm somewhat comfortable. With my partner, we're doing the same exercise, same repetitions, but that's probably vigorous to them. So it's a subjective measure of how hard a person feels like they are working during physical activity or exercise. So I just want to show you that scale so you know where you are and you can measure how you're feeling during your exercise. I don't know if anyone has ever actually been through an exercise testing with a physician before or anything of that sort. Maybe they put you on a treadmill and they tested your cardiovascular strength. They'll ask you, how are you feeling? And they'll show you this right in front of your face while you're on a bike or or the treadmill. 1 through 10, how are you feeling? Well, I don't know. What do these numbers mean? So now you know. All right. So physical activity and exercise guidelines. It is recommended through ACSM, which is American College of Sports Medicine. The recommended amount for physical activity and exercise is 150 minutes of moderate intensity of aerobic activity every week. So you can break that down into 20 to 30 minutes a day. And again, aerobic is, it could be running, cycling, brisk walk, jogging. Those are aerobic. Something that's with oxygen, and you have to take in a lot of oxygen for those large muscle groups. Another one, resistance training, activities of 2 or more days a week that work all major muscle groups. So resistance training is strength training, or you can use resistant bands. They only say 2 or more, because if you're working the same muscle group consecutively, you are more prone to injury. So if you are working out your lats, your back, you're not going to work them out the next day. You're sore, lactic acid buildup, you're just prone to injury. So you want to wait at least 48 hours between working out that same muscle group. So benefits of physical activity and exercise: helps control blood glucose, assists with weight loss, lower blood pressure, helps raise good cholesterol and lowers total cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Increase cardiovascular fitness, increase muscle strength and balance, as well as increase confidence and positive attitude. Effects of exercise. So effects of exercise on your blood sugar. It improves overall blood glucose control, increase insulin sensitivity, and your blood sugar levels will vary depending on how long you are active and the type of exercise you are doing. Insulin sensitivity is increased, so your muscle cells are better able to use any available insulin to take up glucose during and after activity. So I don't know if you remember the figure that Dr. Carson showed with the insulin as the key to unlock the cell and letting the glucose in. This is where exercise plays in. So insulin sensitivity is increased, meaning that the insulin that is in your bloodstream, they're being activated to let in the glucose in the cell so that we can use it as fuel. When your muscles contract during activity, your cells are able to take up glucose and use it for energy without whether insulin is available or not. Glucose is used as fuel for the exercising muscles. For instance, short bursts of muscles and liver can release stores of glucose for fuel. With continued moderate exercising, muscle can uptake glucose at almost 20 times than a normal rate. So this is when your blood sugar starts to decrease. So the effect of physical activity on your blood sugar will vary depending on how long you are active, like I mentioned earlier. Definitely become familiar with how your blood sugar responds to exercise. Checking your blood sugar level more often before and after exercise can help you see the benefits of activity. So I'm not sure how many of you here are actually, do have to prick your finger, check your blood sugar. But if you do, and if you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, definitely check your blood sugar before and after exercise so you can see how your body is responding to it. So clinical implications. So short term of regular aerobic exercise in type 2 diabetic patients result in significant improvement in both aerobic capacity and whole body insulin sensitivity. For the long term, endurance training in diabetic patients improves whole body insulin sensitivity and the expression of key muscle enzymes regulated by insulin. So to maintain this, once you start that exercise regimen, you have to be dedicated to it. You don't want to let up, because once you do, you will feel the difference when you were exercising and on a plan and when you weren't. Definitely do not want to interrupt that cycle of exercising. So lastly for me, so for health screening and evaluation, I remember back in 2013, as I finished my undergrad, ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, to create a exercise program for a patient, they were only looking at risk factors. So when I read this on their website, along with American Diabetes Association, they actually scratched that. They no longer just look at risk factors. They said if you have diabetes and you are sedentary and desire to begin physical activity at any level of intensity, you should obtain prior medical clearance from a healthcare professional. So if you think that you are pre-diabetic, diabetic, please go to your healthcare professional first. Also to let them know that you are beginning an exercise program, because they should be able to help you in providing a glucometer, which is testing your blood sugar, which is good. I'll be honest, when I was pregnant, my daughter's 3 now, I had gestational diabetes. So I had to experience what it was to literally wake up. I had to prick my finger. Okay, can I eat now? Like, I was like, I really hope I don't have this when I have her. It was just a tedious thing, and it's nothing I would want to do for a very long time. So yeah, so I would eat, wait a couple hours, test it. I would exercise. It would drop down a little bit. But again, I had to test it to figure out what exercise was working for me, because everybody is different. So I just wanted everyone to know that I have experienced gestational diabetes, and having to test myself every 2 hours was too much. So thank you all for showing up today. I believe we did have some questions in the chat box. If you have any further questions, feel free to unmute yourself or ask it in the chat box. Simone, I think there were some questions for you.
Oh, great. Trying to figure out how to.
I think.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, I'll go down the list. Are there alternatives to fish oil for individuals who are vegan or vegetarian? It's hard. Okay, I'm just gonna be blunt. I don't recommend being a vegan. And if you're a vegetarian, I would want to talk to you about your nutrition and your supplementation. I was vegetarian for 20 years, so I feel like I can be kind of blunt about this. I understand the reasoning for wanting to be a vegetarian or a vegan. It's just, unfortunately, being a vegan is not healthy, especially if you're a woman, unless you can get tons and tons of supplements and get yourself tested at least once a year for deficiencies. It messes with hormones. There's just certain things we need, and eggs is very high up there. Fish is very high up there. So even if you're not wanting to eat meat, absolutely, you're going to need to take a fish supplement, fish oil supplement, especially right now during COVID, especially if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes. There's just not really a way around that. Eggs are wonderful. Eggs provide tons and tons of nutrients, and you can get a lot from them as well. The protein, you can load up on flaxseed oil instead of fish oil, but it's just not going to provide the same amount of benefits. Fish oil though, wild fish, like from sardines, is some of the best fish oil that I have found in my research. And that's small fish and it's wild. So I know that there can be some implications with the ocean and fishing, but you're not going to really find problems like that when you're consuming small fish like that. So I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit harsh about veganism. Okay, handouts with new meal tips. Yes, definitely. I will put my email address in the chat box, and definitely feel free to please email me, and I'll put you on our food for thought emails where I send out where I send out quick cooking recipe recommendations. And then I'll also provide everybody that would like some information on some food and, whatnot. And if you have a youth that attends BYA or is in our counseling services, I can absolutely do nutrition counseling services with them.
I think it's from Leilani. Do you have recommendations for families / people who may have a more restricted shopping budget? Would be interested to see what healthy staples you recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, all of the foods I recommended, with the exception of nuts, are pretty inexpensive. And for nuts, because I know they do tend to be a little bit more expensive, I get them in bulk, which is like a lot cheaper of a way to do it. It'll usually cost you around like $9 a pound, but a pound lasts a really long time. So when we're talking about like consuming nuts and seeds, we're talking about like a fistful, for a serving. So it will last a long time. For fish, I get a lot of my fish actually at Safeway. They have tons of wild fish. So does Trader Joe's. I find Safeway to probably be the cheapest, honestly. I can get a bag of wild salmon portioned out into like 8 ounces for, I think it's like $8. It's like a bag, I think, of 10 for $8. And that'll last me about like a month or so. As far as like vegetables are actually pretty inexpensive. If you go to the farmers markets, especially the one in downtown Oakland, it's my favorite. You can find a lot of vegetables for very good prices. If you are local, absolutely shoot me an email and let me get you on our Farm to Families program. We do, it's incredible actually. Every two Tuesdays a month, we do farm fresh, same day harvested organic produce, and we distribute out 150 pounds or 300 pounds total a month of healthy organic food completely free. So definitely let me know if you're interested in that. That's where we get a lot of our vegetables from in my household right now. But vegetables really are relatively inexpensive, especially if like you're getting them in bulk. And if you're worried about buying in bulk because they tend to turn, relatively quickly, you can always cut them up and freeze them. We do that a lot at my house too. As far as like the meat goes, I know meat can be a bit expensive, especially the grass-fed meats. I buy whole chickens. That is my best recommendation for you. A whole chicken, let's just say at like the top price point, right? Like a whole 4-pound chicken that's pasture raised and heirlooms and the blah, 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 all that will cost about $14. That'll last myself and my partner a week. We just stick that chicken in the oven for about an hour and a half, plop some butter on top of it, let it do its thing. And we use that for salads, for like quick stir fries. And then I take all the bones and I make homemade bone broth, which is a very nutrient dense, really important to do, especially if you have diabetes, especially during times of COVID. So there are ways to absolutely eat healthy on a budget. And just if you can also email me too, and I can provide you some tips too, but don't let the cost deter you from like trying to add these things into your diet, and just try to maybe take some other things out that aren't necessary, and just, you know, that's what I do in my budget. I'm like, I don't necessarily need to buy, you know, whatever this week. Let me like substitute that out with like a whole chicken and have that for like a week's worth of food.
There was also a comment you mentioned pineapple, but we thought that that pineapple is actually considered high in sugar.
Yeah, but bananas are as well. But pineapple has tons of fiber in it. So again, we're talking about that balance of the fiber and the proteins and the carbohydrates. So when you're looking at fruits, there's so many carbohydrates you can be taking out of your diet. Fruit should, you know, in moderation, right? But you can absolutely eat fruit every day, especially fruit that's high in fiber. So, you know, using a blender as opposed to using a juicer, you're getting more fiber in that way. Pineapples, you know, pairing pineapples with, you know, like your breakfast or something like that. Or if like you have to have that piece of toast, doing like a side of pineapples. Pineapples and peanut butter is really good. I know it sounds weird, but I love it. It's very high in fiber, and the vitamin benefits that you get from pineapple are incredible. It also helps if you have cold, if you have sore throat. It's got tons of enzymes in it if you have trouble with digestion. So pineapple's okay.
Thank you. And I think, you asked for some exercises for beginners. Depending on if you have injuries, how you're feeling, if your knees are okay, I run more for therapy. I don't know if everyone else does that. If you feel comfortable with running, yes, it can be hard on the knees, but if it's more of a mental health therapeutic type of running, that is fine. A mile or less for beginners. Cycling is always good. But for like at home or with equipment, would you say exercises with or without equipment?
I was just thinking for someone during these COVID times, they're sheltering in place, like what's a good beginner workout where they don't have to buy a bunch of equipment? Yeah, I guess so they don't have to buy a bunch of equipment. What's something they can do? Maybe low impact if they're, depending on their fitness level and their joints.
Yeah. So during COVID, actually, I don't know if this is the case for everyone. I feel like we're busier during COVID than we were before. And so what I also stress to our staff is do exercise in bouts, 10 to 15 minute bouts, because in total you should try to get in 30 minutes of exercise. But if you don't have that time, I would say 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. If you're the type that you're okay with not eating breakfast, it's kind of like fasted cardio in a way. Now you're burning into the fat component of your body as soon as you wake up. So wall sits is a good one you can do for time. You can start off gradually 20 seconds to 30 seconds to a minute. Tricep dips on a chair, or you could actually do it on the ground. Push-ups if you're able to. Wall push-ups is to modify that. I hate push-ups, but if you want, right, I'm like, how do you work out your arms? But even if you have gallons of water, you have gallon of water that you need weights, you can use that as well. Burpees are always good. I know I teach the
Kevin will be like, no.
I teach the exercise class for the youth on Thursdays, and one of them are like, I have neighbors. I'm like, oh man. So it's like you're stepping out instead of jumping. Actually, I'll send everyone the link. I posted some of those exercises on our BYA YouTube. So, and they're at home. So, and I'm not using equipment. And I think the types of exercises that I'm doing it's a sports conditioning strength class. So everything that I think, especially with COVID and working out at home, would be the same types of exercises. Yeah, there's a bunch. I can send it to everyone. I believe I have everyone's email, but yeah, get creative with it. Work out to the music. Dancing, just in general, it's therapeutic and it's aerobic dance. Because nowadays I was in a webinar and it was about dance therapy. It was the best. And they had a DJ. So definitely look into that for aerobic. Yeah, there's so much to say about beginning exercises that I'll send you some information. Hopefully that answered. Difference between walking and running. Yes, so in talking about the aerobic and how much oxygen you're intaking and pumping. So the higher your heart rate max, the higher your heart rate gets to your max heart rate. I know we don't like talking about calories, but that's would be the difference, is your heart rate level. It is within that mile that you're so it's 220, you take 220 minus your age, that is your max heart rate. And if you can get as close to that max heart rate, you are burning a good amount of calories. So that would be the difference, is how close you can get to your heart rate, your max heart rate. Any other questions for us? Did I miss anything? For scale of working out, is there a recommended number you should be at throughout your workout? When you say recommended number, does the heart rate scale help you out?
For the scales 1 through 10.
Oh, for the RPE scale?
Yeah, that one. I forgot the name of it.
Everyone can still see this slide, right?
Yeah.
There. There's no real recommended number. It's if you can work vigorously for a certain amount of time. So that's when high intensity interval training comes into play. So you're doing like a light workout and you have that burst of energy when you go into a vigorous exercise for maybe 15 seconds. And now you're switching to anaerobic and you're using more glucose. So high interval training, I think, would be a good way of getting to like a light exercise. You could be walking and then you sprint for 15, 20 seconds, and then you walk again for another 20 seconds, and then you sprint. So you're sprinting to the point where your personal, where you feel like is vigorous, a 7 to an 8. So everyone is different. And like how I also mentioned to Tino is, if you can reach as close as you can, again, if you've been sedentary and you're going to start a moderate to vigorous exercise and you don't feel comfortable with that, definitely look into seeing a physician first, okay? Just to make sure that your cardiovascular health is in good shape, to be honest. So that's a good indication. Hopefully that helped. Did that help, Wanda?
It did help.
Thanks. Any other questions? All good. Well, again, thank you all for coming. It was great for me to be a part of. Hopefully it was great for you too. Good experience. We got some great information from Dr. Carson. We will be posting this. Also, if you want to share it to anybody within your family, your network. So it will be posted and I will send out the link. All right. Anything else? You're welcome.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody, for putting this together, and the presenters and everyone's questions. All of this is good food for thought. Thank you so much. Food for action, more than thought.
I will email you those exercises for you and your family.
Yes, if I can get like a one pager, I don't know if the presenters could have like, like the best practices on like if you have any sheets, any documents, those are helpful. I can put them on the fridge. We can look at them and
Oh my gosh, Simone, we need to put
a lot of information. I was like, man, this is all great, but where do you start? It could be like overwhelming sometimes. And I was like, wow, we had 3 full presentations with a lot of great information. And I would like to condense it somehow.
We do motivational Mondays, like fitness motivational Mondays. So now I'm gonna put you on there, and Simone's gonna put you on our talk about it for the food for thought.
Yes, please.
So you will be in shape. All right, take care.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Really good. I
Have a good
enjoyed
one.
it. Thank you.